Hey folks, hope you're doing good. We're going to check out some NuMetal today with all the masks and all of that stuff. I like NuMetal. I was into Korn and Limp Bizkit and Deftones and all that garbage back in the day, late 2000s. I loved all that stuff. But I must admit, I did fall out with NuMetal purely because they started going more poppy and I wanted to go to more heaviness. You know, I like it heavy, but I think these guys today are pretty heavy. Some of the kind of latest NuMetal is actually very heavy. So anyway, this band we're going to check out first is called I Killed the Devil, and their track is called High School. It's quite a long one, nearly 6 minutes, so let's check it out.
Good morning, everyone. We're coming on the air with breaking news. A school shooting with reports of multiple fatalities, this time in Santa Fe, Texas. It's outside Galveston. A suspect is in custody after opening fire this morning at the high school against Santa Fe. It's a developing story. We're getting details coming in.
Can turn this one up a little bit. And in NuMetal style, there's a bunch of them in the band as well.
We want to turn right now to Pete Williams, who's in our Washington newsroom and has the latest. Pete?
Well, Lester, according to our affiliate KTRC, the number of fatalities from the shooting is at this point said to be 8. We don't know whether that's students, faculty, what the breakdown is.
My fingertips are following dance. My mind is showing. They teach me how to cover. They don't know I'm exploding. The terrible urge to have to convert.
Cool way to do a lyric video.
That tears me apart. They tied up my hands. They made me so pain. And even I got so I fell again.
Hear that bass in the mix. A real rattle to it. His vocals coming through just a little bit louder than hers was. It's got a bit more power behind it.
Another deadly school shooting
At a high school in North Carolina on Monday,
Authorities believe this stemmed from a case of bullying.
the number of fatalities from the shooting is at this point said to be 8. New footage showing the terrifying moment gunfire erupted.
Students running for their lives. The godlike crooked judge, but I feel no regrets. My hands are tied again.
Yeah, a little bit more volume on a vocal would have been cool. It's a bit more buried in the mix than his vocal. I'm loving the sound of the bass in the mix. It's really got a grind and rattle to it that comes through, cuts through the guitars. The guitars are quite washy. Yeah, comes through just a bit louder. Nice cymbal sound in there. Gives it a good wash to the high end. I say it's quite a washy song really. The guitars are quite washy. It's got a nice kind of plot to it. You can hear it particularly now, but his vocal's just that bit louder than hers. Sounds good together though. I like that. Like how they push their voice there at the end to give it a bit more passion and anger. Cool. Good track. I think there were a couple of mixing issues with that track. It was a little bit quiet. Kind of felt like it needed to be compressed a bit more and brought the sound of it brought out a bit more. And just that issue there a bit with the vocal, where her vocal was a bit quieter in the mix. If they'd both been that volume, it would have worked out, because it sat in the mix nicely. It was a bit buried. I like a buried vocal. I'm not so keen on it when you have the music and then the vocals just sat on top of the music, you know, and it's kind of all the focus is really on the vocal. I like to hear all the instruments and all the sound, you know, that's what I like. So I like to bury the vocal a bit in the mix like hers was, which sounded cool. But because, you know, it was a double vocal and we had his as well, his was a bit more prominent, a bit more of that sat on top of the music sound. And because of that, you know, his sounded nice and prominent and hers sounded nice and buried in the mix. But they kind of didn't really sound exactly the same volume coming through the mix. So there you go. That's just a little, literally would have been 1 decibel, I reckon, on her on the volume on her vocal, and it would have just kind of been a bit more in line with his, or a decibel off his vocal and just buried it in the mix a little bit more. Very cool. They had all the masks and everything like that. Now, one thing I will say about masks, I love masks. I've always wanted to be in Slipknot, banging a drum with a mask on. One time my dad walked in on me ripping on my guitar with a homemade Slipknot mask on. It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life, because my dad totally doesn't get the metal scene and all of that. He was just like, what the hell? But it was pretty funny, I guess. But one thing I will say about masks and all of that and dressing up for metal, I love it. I think it's great, but I do think you need to think about it and have a group image like Slipknot do, with the boiler suits and all the masks and everything else, and they look like a cohesive unit. And the masks work then because they've all got a mask, and you know, it's a look, it's a kind of vibe that they've got going on. And what we had in this band was a bit of a mix of masks and not masks, and kind of casual stuff and not casual stuff. So I would say to these guys, you know, dive both feet in. If you're going to do the mask thing, go all out. We've had a few bands on the channel now who've gone all out. They've got the masks. In Plagues is one. They've got a new track coming out soon as well. We'll check out. But, you know, they've got the whole look. They've got it all going on. They've got the look. They've got the suits. They've got the image. They've got the movement that they've got when they're in the masks and everything else. And it just all works out because they've thought about every aspect of the look. And that's one thing I would just say to these guys, you know, just think, either just go all out on the masks and get suits and, you know, really kind of just embrace that stuff, or maybe don't bother. It's up to you. But I think going halfway on it maybe isn't the best way to go. Very cool track though. I enjoyed it. Now, this next band we've got is called The Heretic. Their track is called Dark Passenger. That's right. So let's check this one out. Another long track. I think we're going to be a long one today. We've been going 10 minutes. Cool tone. I think this guy might be a one-man band. Real slappy drums as well.
Hands on my spine, infecting you with them. Suppressing the mind and body with
I love the guitar tone. Vocal style's that kind of almost whispery style, gravelly whispery style. Usually when I'm doing this kind of vocal, I whack a load of distortion on it just to give it more power. It's got an attitude, this one has. Yeah, I would whack a bit of distortion on this vocal. Because when you do that with this kind of vocal, it just gives it a lot more power and a lot more kind of tone. Because when you're doing this whispery style, you're working your throat in the same way, but it just hasn't got the power behind it because it's not got the kind of sound behind it. So you can compensate for that a bit with just whacking it through some distortion. And it gives it that extra gain and extra kind of oomph. I think it would work well in this mix as well because it's got a good distorted guitar and bass tone. The extra distortion on the vocal I think would work nicely and just give the vocal that bit more power. It's quite powerful music. He's got nice vocal layering in this. He's done a lot of vocal layering. Nice ride sound. There's a nice grooviness to the riffs. Works well with the tone. Cool. It's got good energy in the music there, good energy in the vocal. I enjoyed that. And I'm pretty sure this guy must be a one-man band. Sounds like it, looks like it. And if he's done all that himself, very, very cool, because it's got a good groove to it. It's got nice tones in there. It's got a nice slappiness to the drums and some good cymbal sounds. But yeah, I would just say, I'm going to guess he's doing his own mix as well. I would say, try doing that vocal through a bunch of distortion and see if you like the sound of that, because I like the sound of that. That's what I do for my band when I'm doing that kind of whispering style. It's a style that you can do. I've made a video about it. You can do that style with a lot of distortion to make it sound like you've got a real powerful voice, but you're actually just whispering through the mic and going, wow, hey, wow, that kind of stuff. But you can make it sound real powerful. So let's check out this last band for today. This is another long one. We're going to be going on for ages today. It's going to be 20 minutes. Anyway, this is Amnesis. Their track is called Game of Faces. And we're going to finish off with these guys. So let's check it out. Got some more masks. Oh, is this one really quiet? I think it might be. So we're going to crank it up a bit. Yeah, it's turned up. maybe that was just the start of the track, and now it's going to get loud. Yes. Turn it back down again. Yeah, nice and loud and chunky.
I wear a mask of sanity, hides my insecurities, painted up all scary lights to make them all afraid of me. Broken, yes, I will confess, I'm stupid shit and meant to guess. With truth in the chamber will put me down forever. Still I'm smiling nonetheless, covers up the ugliness. Still about is useless like a white sheet on a bloody mess. Down on my knees begging for mercy. Is this how they thought it would be?
Yeah, it's got the right voice. Now this mix is kind of what I've been hoping for from the last two bands. Nice and chunky, nice fat low end to it. Good groove, nice washy cymbals. Loud, vocals nice and loud. Yeah. Torturing myself again. Still I'm smiling nonetheless. Covers up the weariness. Play the game of faces as the dead take all their places. Down on my knees. And yeah, that bass grinding in this one as well. Very cool. Grindy bass is a nice aspect of NuMetal. Still think Fieldy's got one of the best bass tones in metal. Sounds great. Yeah, that's a fat tone.
In spite of the obscenities, exchange between two enemies. Under the guise of subtlety.
Weighty drums as well. Yeah. Let's have a look at that low end. Look at that low end right now. It's just a big bump.
Exchange between two enemies.
Yeah.
So the dead will take our places. Let's play the game of faces. Soon the dead will take our places. As the rain of company.
Yeah, cool. Got a good energy, got a good bounce to it. Loud. Now that one went by quickly for me. I enjoyed that one a lot. That had a great sound, these guys did. The mix was great, super fat. When we looked over at the waveform at that one point, it was just all low end. I don't mind that whatsoever. Fat weighty drums, fat double bass, super fat grindy bass tone, chunky guitar tone. Yeah, I'm into that all day long. Nice bounce and energy and groove in the music, which you want to see in NuMetal. You know, NuMetal's got those hip hop influences, it's got a groove, it's got a bounce to it. You've got to have a lot of kind of bouncing energy in NuMetal, in my opinion. That's really what it's about a lot. So yeah, I enjoyed the bands today. I think the first two bands had good tracks. The mix didn't kind of represent the sound as best as it could. There were a little couple of mixing tweaks and tips and things that I would like to have done to those mixes just to bring out the sound, because all the elements were there. Everything was there in the mix. I just don't think, they were necessarily kind of given the shining light that they needed to on each aspect and element of the band, whether it was in the vocal. Well, it was in the vocal with both of them mainly, but they could really crank the bass up as well. I think like in this last band, did you have that real thick... That's what kind of the thing I kind of associate with NuMetal is a thick, fat mix, because they all did have that back in the day. Can't deny NuMetal that. You know, they had big chunky mixes. So yeah, cool music. We don't get a lot of NuMetal on the channel because, to be honest with you, there's not that many NuMetal bands out there. I don't think it did die out, and kind of only a few folks are taking it up. But we've had some more modern kind of 2020 or in the last kind of 5-year bands, NuMetal bands, the freshest of the fresh NuMetal. And it's heavy and it's good, and there's some nice aspects in there. And it's not like the old school NuMetal. It's not like 20-year-old NuMetal. They're bringing in modern stuff, and it's got a nice modern mix as well. So yeah, NuMetal can be very, very nice. I thought these last guys were pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I think they had a good look as well. I think it worked out, even though they're only in wife beaters and all of that. They look like a cohesive unit, and that's what I was talking about with the first band. I think when you go down the route of having an image, wearing masks, or just having a vibe about the band and an image vibe, you've all got to be on board, and you've all got to dive in both feet first and really embrace the image. Get cool masks, spend some money on your masks, customize them, make them cool, make them represent something about yourself like they did in Slipknot and all of that. Very, very cool. Think of something that's not a boiler suit that you can wear as a suit, that brings the band together, brings the whole look together, and gives the whole vibe just an authenticity, so that you really kind of, pulling it off. Because I think you're either in or you're out with that stuff. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that, guys. We got on far too long, nearly 25 minutes, but I've enjoyed it. And we don't have a lot of NuMetal on the channel, so if you're into NuMetal and you've watched this video to the end, thanks very much. I hope you've enjoyed the show. See ya. Bye.